Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I am your ever-loving host, Shorty, and today we are reviewing that. Now, yes, I know I had this tagged as, not for kids, and that's fine. And I do occasionally let a little bit of profanity slip out, but it's never intentional. It's kind of hard to say what that is, though, without drawing attention to the fact that there's clearly a letter that's wanting to be there, but isn't. And that makes me think straight away, I have to warn everyone that this is not a comic book for kids, which is fair enough. To be honest, we saw a whole bunch of stuff which isn't for kids. We get asked quite a lot if there are things for kids, but when we show them stuff, it's not really what they're after. Whereas, there's a lot more range for grown-ups. This is definitely on the mature end of things. And weirdly, I was going to get into this whole thing of like what, the violence and the bad language and all that. And don't get me wrong, there is lashings of ultra-violence. I've used that term a lot recently, ultra-violence. I suppose it's the difference between just, casual, let's say, Guardians of the Galaxy level of threat, where there will be, a lot of fists being punched and laser blasts going off, and then the difference between people like, compound fractures with shin bones sticking out of the leg. Some stuff is a little bit worse than others, and Shot Show definitely does go to the extreme end of this. So that a compound fracture is something that actually happens in this book, and is, to be honest, is worse. And that could be the reason why I'd say it's definitely not for kids. It's certainly not suitable for young children, but it's not the reason. And then obviously there's the language aspect. I mean, yes, on the front cover they're going to put the asterisks in there. There's actually a name for the way people like replace certain letters with a punctuation to denote profanity. I can't remember what it's off my head, but once you get inside the comic book, you don't worry so much about that. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of reasons why it's probably not great for kids. That's still not the reason I would say it's a comic for grown-ups. My reason is actually because it deals with some actually pretty dark and hardcore stuff like trauma, like lasting trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder and the like, alcoholism, recidivism for crimes committed, and a whole bunch of really nasty stuff which are not as fun. Oh God, yes, ultraviolence is not really fun either, but you know what I mean. There's a certain joy you can take in something like a head exploding, whereas watching somebody throw up as two children trying to get him back into work because it's 10 o'clock in the morning and he's already drunk because he lost all of his friends, that is a little bit more extreme, and it's not as funny. I've got a sneeze going. I'm really sorry. This might happen in the middle of this review. I'm awfully sorry. I'm going to try my best to keep under control. But what I will say is, because it goes into that actual real danger in a world of superheroes and demons, it does a better job of having a compelling character than Scumbag, I think it was, I reviewed a few weeks ago, which, don't get me wrong, was an entertaining thing, because that one didn't take itself that seriously, and it fully embraced the ludicrous nature of a comic book superhero world. This one, it's more like a reference to times past and when it all went wrong. Imagine how many times in a DC or Marvel event they've pulled it back from the brink and saved everything. This is a story of what happens when that doesn't happen, and the big bad literally just murders almost all the most powerful superheroes on the planet, and the few that left end up having to run and hide and cope with the failure, and knowing that because they failed, people died, which means that the character is actually a lot more fun to read, even though they don't have the quips. And there's not like the bravado and the over the top confidence to it all. It's still somebody who I think I'd be far more likely to hang out with. Probably says a bit more about me than anything else. But to be honest, it does make the comic book read better. I'm not constantly like, why on earth are we reading about this person? It makes sense we're reading about them. There's an arc already in play here. There's already something which has started, and we're coming in at a certain point in it to see how it unfolds. It's not a series of random events happening to somebody who doesn't know what the hell's going on. It's somebody who's put themselves in danger's way and is now dealing with the consequences. Now, don't get me wrong, they're playing it for laughs on occasion. There's some of the characters, the superheroes from the Age of Heroes, clearly have not real DC and Marvel counterpoints, and having some fun with that, and the way those are written is taking the mick out of superhero tropes, which is fine and dandy-o, but it's not out and out a fun comic book. It deals with people have to make bad choices, and in fact children who have superpowers who don't want to be superheroes, or just work in a circus and do cool things for an audience, but have their own problems as well, including pyromania and kleptomania and all that, because they've not been raised in a way that teaches them to deal with what's going on in the world and how to handle themselves. So yeah, there's a hell of a lot more going on in this one, and it's obvious that it's going on, and it's handled really, really quite well. Artwork wise, it's about what's standard for a Scout comic, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean it's it's over the top, a little bit more cartoony than some of the early stuff that I've read. But when you get to action sequences and page layouts, are all absolutely top notch, above what I'd expect. And if anything, add to it, certainly don't detract. Even though there are better drawn comic books out there, that's all I can really say about that. Anyway, that's it from me. I've passed my time. I am going to carry on my best of 2020 later on today, so keep tuned for that one. Other than that, bye.